for many different reasons. Arch Manning's success at Texas should be something that should be insanely celebrated because he is what I think most people would want from a college football recruit and then player. That he didn't come in and get immediate success. He didn't get to come in and, even though he was a highly touted, highly sought after and respected recruit, didn't get to just walk in to Texas and take over the starting job, become this all-world player, etc. He had to sit and wait his turn. And now that it is his turn, Texas is viewed as, by some, the odds-on national championship favorite, at least one of the favorites to win the SEC, be a college football playoff contender, etc. He's in the Heisman Trophy conversation in the preseason. That should be an undeniably good thing, that somebody can go to a program, stay there for 3 years, not hit the transfer portal, not worry about NIL deals, etc. Do things, quote unquote, the right way. And yet I think it's fair to question whether or not Arch Manning's success could end up ultimately being a detriment to Texas in the short term. Not in the long term, because if Arch Manning is everything that everybody thinks he is, if he does have that talent, if he is another future first-round draft pick for Steve Sarkisian, for Texas, and for the Manning family, that will do good things for Texas in the long term. But in the immediate aftermath of who takes over after Arch Manning, can it be a bad thing for Texas? And I think the answer to that question is yeah. Because when you look around the college football landscape, Arch Manning is basically a unicorn. There are not a ton of recruits, especially at the quarterback position, who go to a school knowing that they're going to have to sit behind somebody else before they get on the field. And also knowing that, like, hey, I'm at a blue blood program where it was going to be really easy for this school to also recruit somebody in the classes after me who are also really good, and I'm going to have to beat those guys out too. That doesn't really exist much anymore today. If you are a quarterback recruit, because everybody is focused on getting to the next level, getting as much playing time in college, playing as early as possible in college to get on the field, get enough tape for NFL evaluators, and be the next great NFL quarterback, whether you're Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, whoever the case may be. Everybody wants that. And the only way to do that is to play. It's not to sit for a year and a half, 2 years, 3 years. If you, and this is a problem I have with like NFL evaluators, if you sit for 3 years, get to play as a senior, and you're outstanding, NFL front office people will be like, well, if he was so good, how come he didn't play before the guy in front of him? If he was so good, how come he sat for 3 years? Instead of like, oh, this kid showed that he was loyal and patient and humble and did all of the right things. It's never that. It's always, well, how come he's not as good as we think he is? And it's dumb, and I hate that. But Arch Manning is a unicorn where he conceivably isn't going to transfer from Texas after this coming season because his grandpa says he's going to play at Texas next year too. And I know that there's a whole lot of stuff that goes into whether deciding whether or not you're going to go into the NFL draft, and it might not always include your grandpa. I get that. But if Arch Manning plays really well in 2025, which everybody by almost letter of the law expects him to do, and is also going to be there in 2026, how attractive is it to be recruited by Texas if you are a high-profile quarterback recruit or a high-profile quarterback transfer? It isn't all that enticing of an offer because you're going to go sit behind Arch Manning. And at some point, he's going to leave. But even at that stage, are you going to get a true freshman to come in? So you are looking at potentially the starting quarterback of Texas in 2027, and I know that that's pretty far down the line, it feels like, but it's going to be here before you know it. Either not being in college right now or not being on that roster. Because the days of somebody saying, I am willing to go to this program despite there being a really highly touted prospect or highly touted player, established player at that position, I'm willing to go sit behind them. Those days just don't exist anymore. And even if they did, you are then enticed from that program by other schools being able to say, well, hell, I'll give you $3 million to come be my quarterback. Why sit behind this guy for another 2 years when you can just come be my guy? Those are a lot of steps to have to say no to say no to NIL money that has 6 zeros in it every year. 2 commas, baby. 2 commas and 6 zeros. Plus, you get on the field. Plus, you get to show NFL talent evaluators what you can do, which is what every quarterback wants. That's really difficult to say no to. And so, in some ways, can the success of Arch Manning be a problem for Texas? I think undeniably yes. I do also think maybe big picture, it could be a good thing for the sport overall that some kids could see that there is an example of this happening, that Arch Manning was everybody in America wanted the kid. He decides to go to Texas and sits behind the number 1 overall recruit from a couple of years ahead of him, where he got the chance to sit and learn and adjust and didn't have to have all of his bumps, bruises, poor decisions be broadcast for everyone to see. He got to mature a little bit and develop. And I think that that puts him in a really good spot going into the 2025 season, where he's able to finally showcase his ability and skills and not necessarily have all of the warts in his game that he probably had coming straight out of high school. So it might be a good thing for the sport overall that you can point to, hey, look at the way this guy did it. Because there are people who will tell you that whether it's the 2026 NFL draft or the 2027 NFL draft, that Arch Manning will be the first quarterback off the board. I don't know if that's the case, but I haven't seen anything from him that would discount him or disqualify him from being a future first-round quarterback. He is good. And the idea that nobody would give a damn about him unless if his last name was Smith instead of Manning, I think is disingenuous. But that's just my opinion. You're entitled to yours. I think this can be a immediate negative for Texas because I think it's going to be really hard to recruit that position for this recruiting class and potentially the last recruiting class and potentially the next recruiting class. There is potential there to see Texas have just a complete lack of talent and ability in the quarterback room. Because are you going to move away from Arch Manning? I don't think this is a Kelly Bryant, Trevor Lawrence situation. I don't think that you're going to get into a spot where there can be a quarterback coming up through that Sark goes like, oh, hell yeah. This kid's great. Sorry, Arch, we'll see you later. Because that is the situation where the last name plays in Arch Manning's favor. You going to piss off Archie, Peyton, Eli, Cooper Manning? Probably not. You're going to make really valuable enemies of one of the premier football camps in America? Probably not. I'm just here to tell you that I think it could be a net positive for the sport overall, that it could be a great thing that Arch Manning goes, sits, gets to start for 2 full seasons, and everybody gets to go, hell yeah, that's the college football I grew to know and love, where you had to take your lumps, where you had to do the things that you didn't want to do, where it wasn't always easy, and it wasn't this damn instant gratification society we got today. You can say all of those things about Arch Manning. But then in 2027 and 2028 and 2029 and beyond, I think it's fair to question, how is Texas going to find success with an unstable quarterback position And I think the success of Arch Manning probably creates an unstable quarterback position for the Longhorns. That'll do it for today's episode of the Daily Huddle. I appreciate you making us a part of your day, however it is, wherever it is you're doing so. If you're watching on YouTube, hit the subscribe button. Make sure you're getting all the great college football content we're pumping out. If you're listening on the podcast feed, drop a 5-star review. It goes a long way in helping out the channel. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode of the Daily Huddle.